It's Tuesday again. The
It
weeks
is.
keep flying by.
They sure do. I know this year has gone by so
Yeah,
fast. I feel
it's
like,
May.
oh my gosh, yes. And then especially having kids too. It's like
Mhm.
I feel like our daughter's turning 10 this year. And I just can't even believe that. I mean, it's like I'm excited, but then I also miss her as a toddler. So
I know. Time
yeah,
flies by. You got to embrace every moment. Speaking of
right.
moments,
hmm
we're going to talk about the calendar and scheduling today, right?
Yeah, so we have been asking you guys to type in the chat or message us, let us know what leadership conversations you'd like us to address. And we have a client of ours, a close colleague, a partner of ours, reach out to us and ask if we could talk about strategic scheduling and how to, block your calendar so that you can get more done and be more intentional and purposeful in accomplishing things in your business. And so, shout out to Elena. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. Carrie and I are excited to talk about this. So, Carrie, I'll let you get started with really how can we be more intentional with our time and our calendar?
Yeah, so a couple of things I'll mention. I know you have a couple of tips as well. Obviously, depending upon your behavioral style, your natural tendencies, these things may work for you better or take whatever you can. We've coached many different people in different industries and in different roles. And some things work for some people. What we do know is there are a couple fundamental things that I think can work for everyone. And one of them is if you're not using your calendar as kind of your boss, you might be
hmm
looking at it wrong. We coach a lot of entrepreneurs, Haley and I, or people in maybe in more entrepreneurship industry or variety of industries. And, a lot of people will say to me, I got into this industry because I didn't want to have a boss. The reality is we all have to have some sort of boss telling us what to do when
Right.
and making sure that we're consistent or we're not going to be successful. And the fact that we don't want a boss is actually going to come back to bite us. And so I had somebody tell me in the past, make your calendar your boss. And I thought that was great because truly, if you can manage and just work with your schedule and manage your time effectively and efficiently, both in life and business, you're going to be far more successful. So one of the things that a lot of people say to me is that they're never looking at their calendar. So it's not useful if you don't look at it. If you put everything on it and then you never look at it all day, of course you don't follow it and you don't allow it to dictate what it is that you do to make sure you do all the important things. One thing that has worked, I think, both for you and I, Haley, is making sure that both personal and business things are on the calendar. Because if everything that's important to you is on the calendar, it's going to train you to go look at that calendar on a regular basis. Like,
hmm
I remember years ago, I really probably only used my calendar for like my listing and buyer appointments, and everything else I kind of went by memory, and I just took for granted, oh, this is my personal schedule. And so I didn't have everything on it, so I kind of looked at it. I would miss things once in a while, and I was very much entrepreneurial when it came to being purposeful with my time. Fast forward, geez, almost 20 years later, I mean, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't look at my calendar. I'm so confused. I'm like looking at it the night before, so I'm preparing. I'm looking at it in the morning. I'm looking at it after every appointment, and I'm preparing myself. And that leads to the second, I guess, tip I personally have found has worked well for me and some of my clients as well, is to color code it.
hmm
So two reasons. One is like if you're like me and you begin getting used to using the calendar all the time and you're looking at it, you can literally look at it for a split second in the morning and get a snapshot of what your day is going to entail. What mindset do you have to be in? What energy level? Because we all know we have to bring a little bit of a different mindset to different types of appointments, different types of things that we do in our life, whether they're personal, business, and within business, if we're working in it, on it, with clients, maybe with talent that we're looking to bring into our world. These are very different conversations, and we have to be mentally prepared just as much as prepared with like the content and what we're bringing to that meeting. So for me, I can look at it and go in a snapshot, okay, this is what I have to be prepared for today. Also, if you are a business owner, you have to know what your revenue generating activities are, and you've got to do them every single day at some point in the day. So for me, my appointments are in blue. I don't know why. It just is what it is. It should be green or something, honestly, but it's blue. And so every single time I look at my calendar, if I don't have a lot of blue on my calendar for the week, my brain literally, without me even consciously thinking about it, is looking to create more blue. Like I have actually like saw my, I've almost like subconsciously and then moved into consciousness and like, what did I just do? I just found space in my calendar, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And all of a sudden, when I looked at my calendar on Saturday, Sunday, it had no blue. And then by Tuesday, I had like all my 10 or 12 or 15 blue appointments in there because I have trained my brain to need to see that on my calendar to know that that is going to equate to success. So there has to be some differentiation. And if you're holding yourself accountable to certain tasks, if you're looking for talent, you know you need to meet with a certain amount of people and that color's red, there's got to be a certain number of reds. And if there's not, you've got to find space in your calendar to make sure that you add those in. So I do think that there's a couple of reasons why that's been successful for me. And over time, it has really morphed into something that I think is very powerful for my business.
Yeah, I love the color coordinating aspect of it because I think that there is um, just a thought process around seeing the color, knowing that you're doing these activities that are bringing money
Yeah.
into your business. My recommendation too with that is I have found that for me, if I'm going to focus on the activities that are going to bring me the most success early in the morning when I'm like fresh and I'm awake and I have the most energy. I'm going to schedule those appointments early in the day. So
Yeah.
anything before noon, usually between like 7:30 and noon, that is where I'm going to prioritize my most important meetings, projects that are really important to me, meeting with my coaching clients. That morning time,
Mhm.
that is revenue generating activity.
Yeah.
And then I usually try to schedule these things early in the week.
I
I
like
tr-
that.
yeah. So and I've always been like that. I try to schedule as much as I can for like Monday, Tuesday,
Yeah.
Wednesday,
Yep.
early in the day. Um, because I just want to get those things out of the way. And then Thursday, Friday, I tend to leave open for things that trickle down through the week,
Yeah.
and they may have less priority. And then I tend to leave my afternoons open. And for me, that works really well. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm still a stay at home mom. I still am at home. My son is in kindergarten. I pick him up in the afternoon. And that's very important that for me, that I'm able
Yeah.
to do that. He's 5 years old, so I pick him up. The afternoon time is when I'm making him lunch. I'm helping him with his homework, and I'm still doing meetings, but
Yeah.
it's just not, these are not top priority type of
Yeah.
things. And I'm not as like fresh and
Yeah.
I'm not on top of things the same way that I
Yeah.
am in the morning. So I like to keep my afternoons flexible. And then I'm very, very focused and I'm intentional in the morning and in the beginning of the week. So I'm
Yeah.
still able to prioritize my kiddos in the afternoon, pick my daughter up from school,
Yeah.
around four
Yeah.
o'clock. And
It's
so, yeah.
super important to do that because otherwise we're not, that's the integration of work and life. If we don't figure out how to do that, we burn out, we become unmotivated, we, start beating ourselves up for not being able to do all the things. We start feeling guilty and all those things actually demotivate. So if you want to stay focused and intentional and feel really good about what you're doing, this is a really great practice. And I love the idea of beginning of the week versus end of the week, because it is true. By the end of the week, we start to wind down. We're getting excited maybe
Yeah.
for the weekend. Summer starts coming. We want to, maybe we're going away for long weekends. So it's a good practice to get into because it is just, it's allowing yourself to accept how you are as a human being, how we all are as human beings, because naturally these are the tendencies we have. So why don't we just schedule our life and our business around like what our natural tendencies are instead of trying to force something that is going to be harder for us, right? Like
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
in the flow and go with what is going to be easiest, because that's going to be the reality is it's going to be more likely that you actually do it. One thing about what you just said is intentional and purposeful. And when we're really focused, here's the reality. Most of us could get done the amount of things that we need to get done between 7:30 and noon.
Yes.
We really could.
Absolutely. We really
So,
can. If you
yeah,
are, and don't like, this is something else, a totally different topic, but I've also found that if I'm not multitasking,
yes,
multitasking actually takes up so much of my time. And I didn't realize that when I wasn't being intentional and I was like doing all these multitasking things, and it's hard, Carrie,
yeah,
especially when your kids are home and summer's
yes,
coming up, like you said. And a lot of us are just working from home. So it's so
mhm,
easy to get distracted. But when you
Mhm.
eliminate the distractions, you stop multitasking, focus on
Yeah.
one thing, do it
Yeah.
really, really well. And this is why time blocking doesn't work for me,
Mhm.
because I want to be able to focus on something, use my creativity, allow it to flow through me. And then
Yeah.
when I'm finished, then I can move on to the next thing. I don't want to block my creativity,
Mhm.
especially because we're starting up this business and we're trying to be creative, and I don't want to be blocked by that. But
Mhm.
you did mention something to me that I want to point out, because I know we don't have that much time left. But you talked about being intentional with lead generation, and so
Yes.
I want you to talk about that.
Yeah. So one thing that has come to my attention, and I realized it early on, but in my coaching in particular, is that we will generalize things on our calendar. Like we'll put lead gen, or
Oh
we'll
yeah.
put lead follow up, or
And
we'll
what does
put
that really mean? Like it
recruiting.
just, yes, and we
Yeah,
just,
it's
we're so
too
used to
much.
seeing it. We're so used to
Yes.
seeing it that we're like, whatever,
Yeah.
Then we
I'll
like
do that later. I do my
yes.
lead gen off and on. It's no big deal. And so we like make it when it's general like that and it's not a specific thing. And also, by the way, when it's a 2-hour time slot or something like that, you need to ask yourself two questions. The first one is, is it realistic that I'm actually doing this for 2 hours every day? When is the last time I did it 2 hours in straight? Because here's the thing, it'd be great if people did it for whatever business you're in because it would impact your business in a big way. But I'm here to tell you, out of the thousands of people that I've coached, a very small fraction actually do it for 2 hours. And you don't necessarily have to. You don't necessarily have to. If you get really good and intentional, to our point, it doesn't always have to be the amount of time. It has to be the consistency in which you get into real estate conversations and you reach out to people and you follow up with people, not necessarily the amount of time you do it. Some people will do it for 30 minutes and get an appointment almost
Mm,
every time. You know why? Because they're extremely specific and very intentional about who they're reaching out to. And so they don't have to spend 2 hours. And so I want you guys to start thinking about, how can I be as effective and efficient as possible with my time? Because if you do that, you'll be far more successful in less time. And if you can get most of your work done by 1 o'clock and you can give yourself freedom in the afternoon as a reward for being structured in the morning, even if you're not a naturally structured person, you will most likely buy into and adhere to this idea that your calendar, at least until 1 o'clock in the day, is your boss. If you naturally rebel against that, use your afternoon freedom as an entrepreneur as your reward. And by the way, your afternoons will get filled with appointments if you're doing your stuff in the
yes.
morning anyway. So the last thing is, instead of saying lead gen or lead follow up, pick the people that week that you actually know you need to follow up with or you want to reconnect with, and put them specifically in your calendar in the spot that would say lead gen for 2 hours. Go and take 15 to 30-minute slots and say, call Haley, call Cari, call whoever, and put their cell phone number behind it. Here's why. I have found that if it is right there in my calendar and I can click on it, and I can
Mm,
literally click on my calendar on the phone number and it's going to dial it for me, the odds of me not doing it are very, very slim. But if I have to go look up a phone number, if I have to think about who I'm going to call, I am going to procrastinate it. I'm going to spend all my time thinking about what I should do. And then the time is up and I need to move to my next task. And I haven't done any lead gen or follow up. And then I'm just not motivated because I'm not getting results. Once you start getting results from this, you will want to do more. That's what the human being naturally wants to do. So you've got to give yourself a chance to do it consistently enough to get results, and then you'll be empowered to continue to do it. And so that has been a huge hack for me, both in agent attraction or talent attraction, as well as lead follow-up or lead generation. And hopefully it will be helpful for you guys as well. It can be one person a day, it can be 5, or it could be 10. It's up to you. And you said something, Haley, about just doing that on like a Sunday evening, taking your top 10 people or 20 people from your database or from your SOI or from your social media or whatever, and just literally plan out your week and put those 2 or 5 or 10 people a day and whatever your goal is. And then you set it and forget it.
yes. I have to say that probably the biggest impact that I made on my business and the businesses of the leaders that I've force multiplied in the past is creating what I call it a 411, and I do it every single Sunday night. I sit down, I review what we're going to be doing, the priorities for the week. I review the priorities for the month and the quarter. And I just make sure that these are things that we are focusing on during the week. And, for my 411, I send it to you because I want to
Yes.
be held accountable. And I want you to also see, like, this is what we're doing. This is what we're focused on. Has anything changed?
Yep.
Have our priorities changed? And then here is where we're at.
Yep.
So I would highly recommend as a real estate agent to sit down on, it doesn't have to be a Sunday. For me, it's Sunday, but
Could be
you know,
Friday.
could be
Yeah.
Friday. You sit down, you just every single Sunday for me, I sit down, it's about 8:30 at night, and I just sit down and I spend about 20 minutes
Yep.
just prioritizing my week. So in that 20 minutes, could you, as a real estate agent, sit down and say, who are 5 people that I want to contact every day this week?
Yeah.
And maybe you
Great.
don't have, 20 people that you reach out to, maybe it's 15, maybe it's 10. But I am telling you, like Carrie said, if you are consistent about it and you are
Yeah.
purposeful and intentional about the conversations that you're going to have, you will see results more than if you're just doing your cold calling or calling out of, a dialer, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really pretty powerful. I mean, Haley, I've had people say to me, I haven't lead generated or recruited if they're trying to build their team consistently for months. And the second I actually was like, oh, I like people know who they should reach out to and who they should call. They know what leads that they're supposed to be following up
Yeah.
with. They know their top, referring partners. I mean, it's like in their mind. It's just that they don't do it in the day when they're just reading something general like that. But if they would actually type it in their calendar, all of a sudden, it just feels like an appointment. It feels a bit more intentional and purposeful, and they feel a bit worse about not doing it than if they just surpassed, a calendar, invite that said lead gen. That just,
Yeah.
there's nothing tied to it. It doesn't give any kind of a reaction like, I really got to get that done. So hopefully some of these tips brought you guys some value. It is probably the number one topic I cover in coaching, which is everybody says, I'm horrible at time management, which by the
Yeah.
way, you got to stop what you say to yourself, because you're not horrible at time management. You just got to find a different strategy that works for you.
Yeah.
If you start telling yourself you're good at time management, you probably will have a greater chance at being so. But it is always something that can be a little bit challenging until you find the right things for yourself. So try different things, use some of these tips, and hopefully some of them will work for you guys.
Yep. Well, thank you guys so
Thanks,
much for joining
Elena,
us.
for the
Yes.
question.
Thank you, Elena.
See you guys soon.